2021 budget from the Dickinson County Board of Supervisors. At this moment, I will open our meeting in prayer. We'll all bow our heads. Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful weather. Thank you for our county. Thank you for our citizens. We thank you for our freedom and our military veterans and military service members. I ask that you give us knowledge and wisdom and ability to make good decisions for the citizens of Dickinson County. And I ask that in all things that we do, we honor your name. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Ron, do you care to please this way?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Moore, you have the floor.
All right. Before we open the floor to the public hearing, I have provided you a handout. There's also copies of the handout for anybody from the public. I thought with the very brief time we got to be together and discuss budget, I wanted to explain a little bit about how we got where we are and go over a few things. Your handout looks like this. I believe it's got 4 pages. The first page basically starts where we were last year. I'm not going to go through all of these. We had several revenue decreases from last year to this year, and we also had a few things that were larger. The one I will point out is there needs to be an understanding that DSS's budget is inside of our general fund budget. So when you're talking about a DSS budget, DSS's revenue and expenses are both in our general fund. So those numbers come from the state. They are not provided by us. What we call the local match of the DSS budget is actually the difference between the revenues and the expenses. That generally is around 1.3 to 1.5 million. This year it's at 1.43 million. So it's in there. So when you hear us talk about before, our expected revenues were only 24.9 million. This is where that number came from. When you took just early on what the expectations were, you can see how the calculation came up. Once we were able to get together and got a revised budget from the state in late April and in early May, we met, we did a series of revisions, and that's how we got to $25.392 million. So that is what is advertised for this public hearing and passage next week. On the back of that first page is, in all my years I've never had a page, and this is an exercise I have done every time I have done a budget. It basically says you took last year's budget and you put in the required or mandated increases. This is things that we don't vote on. These are things that we're told this is what it will be. And I've never had a bigger sheet than the sheet that we've had this year. There are roughly about 12 items here. I can quickly go over our VRS rate. We're on a biennial cycle. As of July 1st, our next series starts. Our rate increased from $959 to $1168. That was $108,000 for the general registrar to pull off a presidential election rather than state elections. That's about $14,000 more. We are funding an attorney and a Commonwealth attorney as an unfunded state mandate between salary and benefits. That's $87,000. Sheriff's Office. We have 3 SRO grants that are Department of Justice grants. They're all funded by the grant. However, we weren't notified of the approval of those until late June of 19, so they actually did not make the budget past last June. They, of course, Ron and Shelby may remember we budget amended those in later on, and there will be in this year's budget. That is a 4-year grant cycle, so this will be year 2. So that is $158,000. Now that $158,000 represents salary and benefits for those three employees, or as far as what the thing covers. It does not cover the totality of what it costs for those 3. Fire rescue, Sandy Ridge Rescue is now back operational again under new management, so we are funding them. We had not funded them for 3 years. That's $25,000. Our regional jail, last year we had received a refund of $143,000. This year we have to actually pay $91,000 extra. That is based just on, well, it has two factors. One, it's based on our average monthly people that we have in the Hayside jail, but it's also in relation to the overall population of the regional jail as a whole component. So that's all done by math. It's all a big factor, but this year's and part of our cycle, we are up $91,000. Our solid waste, Cumberland Plateau Regional Waste Management Haul contract for garbage, our tonnage is up, our rate is up a little, that's $60,000. Then the next three are departments, agencies that we work with the state with, and we only fund 100% of the requirement. Our health department was only up about 1,100. Our behavioral health increase is about 70,000. And again, here's the social services. Social services, it is up 302,000, but again, that is the entirety of their budget. If you remember, I just told you we had a $268,000 revenue increase. We had a $302,000 cash flow expense increase. So the net effect to the county really is $34,000, but when you're budgeting expenses, you have to put all the cash flows in, so it's $302,000. Three of our business insurances are up. Those three are $22,000, and then our employee health insurance, due to some categorical changes by some of our employees and a few other things, was increased $60,000. It is important to know in that $60,000 there is no projected increase for next year. We've built in zero. So if we have, when we get to renegotiation time, if there's a problem, we will just have to work toward getting that back to as level funded as we can, because I don't see where we can propose to accept an increase. So those 12 items before you ever started, $998,800 we had to come up with cash flow. And then I'm not going to go over these next 3 pages, but there has been a lot of, I have received several comments from people about why some departments were up, other departments were down. So basically what I did is I took I think there's close to 50 departments. I went through, I think 25 or 26 of them had increases, and I listed exactly why they went up. We did not increase funding in terms of, there are no salary increases. The VRS increase is a real challenge for us. I mean, $108,000 spread over 20 departments. I've already keyed in on a lot of the big things, the big ticket items that are in here. But again, this is a public hearing for the public to speak about our budget. We will actually not vote the budget in until next Tuesday night. Any time between now and next Tuesday you have a question about any of these, feel free to let me know. And that, I'll just turn it back over for the public hearing to begin.
So David, it's being propounded by certain officials in our county and individuals that we just out of abundance of discretion added, I think the amount was $987,000 to our budget. Was that a discretionary ad or a mandated ad? Did you add up all the
your page here that has $998,800. These were handed to you by other.
So did we just go in a back room then and say, well, I want to give such and such $100,000 more just because we want to?
There's one I will
These
add
are
some
mandated.
info on.
Right, that's what the point I'm making.
This right, the ones you talked about are mandated
Yeah,
increases.
the Sandy Ridge thing is kind of a weird thing because it's always been budgeted for.
But
It's just that,
2,000 social services.
Yeah.
Is that something we chose to do?
No, that's
Thank you.
the big part of this to understand is anything with health department, behavioral health, and social services. We only fund the state minimum local match requirement. Now, with social services, their budget actually comes from the state to Susan. Susan turns it into us, and we put it in here. We don't have any. We don't have any authority to change it. Actually, the only thing that we supplement toward that is the $10,000 that we provide of local money for that community emergency fund,
Which we increased to 20.
which
That was
we did
discretionary.
increase to 20,000. That is the only component that we have any control over. The rest of it is all state mandated. So everything on this sheet that adds up to the 998, 800, those are all things that I call them required or mandated, because it's not something I bring to you and say, hey, let's vote on this. These are things that are given to us, and we have to include them in our budget.
The thing I was trying to point out is Sandy Ridge was not drawing their funding for the last few years because of the situation we were waiting for. Then also on the Waste Authority, that is contractual. It goes up according to the CPI, and then combined with this situation we're in, there's a lot more stuff being
Our
discussed.
tonnage is higher right now
Yeah,
than it's
people
been
are throwing
in 6
things away.
years, because we track that. Our tonnage
Yeah.
is as high as it's been in 6 years. So between the tonnage and the rate, I mean, it's math. I mean, that's
Yeah, it is.
basically what it comes down to. And
It's
so
a certain rate, and it goes up each year.
Right.
And then combined with that, with the situation we're in right now, there's a lot more tonnage being thrown away.
So anyway,
Well, I guess, in my line of questioning to you, David, is not, I guess I just get frustrated in, people that think that we want to give social services $302,000 more dollars, like that's what we want to do.
yeah,
I mean,
and that's not the case.
But also, people need, us and the public, whether they're here tonight, if we're online and watching, or read the minutes, or ever have, anything like let's just use social services for instance, we pay that out, but their money from the state is in this revenue collection amount to offset that.
Right. The component with DSS we're concerned about is what is that local match split between the revenue, and because if it gets out of line, then of course I realize there's something wrong. We work with the local DSS, but as I said, this year's number is about 1.43 million, and that is right in what I call the 50th percentile. It's right about the middle of where it usually is.
You see it as a broke down item in the expense, but you don't see it as a broke down item as money coming in into your revenue.
Well, to help understand the DSS part as a social component, you have to understand with the way that our economy is, with the way that our population is, and the needs that we have, especially among our kids and our elderly. You have a lot of people getting assistance, and the amount of assistance that people are getting here continues to grow. So as part of that component, that's why your DSS number looks a lot bigger, because the state is pumping a lot more money back into this local area. Again, what you see there, the 302,000 increase, which there's a raw number to it, that it's 7,107,681. That's the number. That shows how much cash flow is coming in to fund DSS.
Yeah.
And
that is higher than it was when I.
That actually has gone up at least $1.5 million over the last, I'll say, 6 to 8 years.
Yeah.
It's gone up a lot.
So their budget this year was $7 million, 7 points, what'd you say?
7,107,681,000.
We actually, how much of that part did the county?
302.
300.
Well, it increased 302.
Well, I understand that, but
The
how
county
much?
split is 1.4 million.
1.4.
We're funding roughly about 20%, maybe a little under of what they do.
It makes it look like that.
Well, what you have to understand is DSS's budget is in the general fund. It's not like every other agency. Like behavioral health's budget isn't in here. You're seeing just the local match. The health department's budget isn't in here. That's just the local match. Social services budget is actually inside the general fund.
Well, what Peggy said is right. We don't see that in the revenue. What we get paid.
Well, you got to go back over to the revenue part. It shows you here DSS. Well, it's hidden in here, but
DSC revenue from state, $268,000.
it increased. We are getting somewhere in the neighborhood of $5.7 million from this revenue from the state for DSS. It's in about 3 or 4 different line items.
Anybody have anything else? Ms. Willis, anything?
No, just open it up.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Kaiser, anything else?
I hope that helps.
Now move on to item number 4, public comment. We're going to be very liberal with folks. If you have an opinion you'd like to express, we want you to feel free to do that. We'll be monitored with a 3-minute time limit by our clerk and our lawyer. Other than that, we just ask you state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to say anything that you would like, and we'll just go, whoever wants to go first. You care to keep that? Please.
I've never done it on my phone.
Go ahead, Mrs. Mullins, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Phyllis Mullins, Route 1, Clintwood, Virginia, and I am here as president of the Dickinson Education Association and an educator. I'd like to begin to say I want to extend my deep appreciation and sincere gratitude to the Board of Supervisors for the additional funding that they gave the school system through the CARES Act monies. This will undoubtedly help meet some of the challenges that our school board faces with the current budget crisis. However, even with this generous addition and the drastic cuts that the school board has made, which include not replacing some of the vacancies, deleting some of our valuable aides positions that were covered by substitutes on a daily basis, not our actual part-time aides. The employees are still facing a 30% increase in our insurance premium. When you face that, it equates to a pay cut. We're all aware, and history has shown that once a benefit or a portion of a benefit is lost, the odds of getting it back, as the old saying goes, is slim to none. I come before you tonight to once again ask you to please take into consideration the school system's budget issues and find the funding to help protect one of our most valued benefits. Thank you.
The floor is now open for anyone else.
Benny Kennedy from Caney Ridge, and I'm just here to ask you to increase the county budget for the school system, and I appreciate the candor and professionalism of those I've talked to. I've called several and got a hold of 3 of you. One I didn't get a hold of. If I compare this year's budget to last year's budget and some facts, and I know Mr. Moore has presented a paper here that's got a lot of this on it, but some of the increases in 25 departments, and some was as much as 30 to 32% increase, as you can see on his paper there. And while the 25 departments got increases, and they may be mandated, but still they're increases, the school system got a $1.1 million cut. Now, last year's budget was $7 million for the school system, and this year it was cut to $6.5 by the school board before they sent it to you. And once it was sent to you, then I think you all cut it another $600,000, which some of it's come back through carryover money. And due to the drastic cuts, the school boards had to make some tough decisions, and one's out-of-pocket insurance by the school system for the employees, 311 people, paying 30% more. And that's going to make a family policy with dental cost $165. Compared to the county plan, school personnel will pay $65 more a month. The county employees will not have to pay any more out of pocket. And for them, and I think three of you all have insurance and participate in the plan, the county pays $2,074.40 a month for your plan, and you all pay $100, and that's a good deal. I wish we had that. The amount of the school employees will pay extra this year will be $86,000, and remember, this is going to be out of their pocket. And what would $86,000 pay for? It would pay for the budget increase in 15 county departments, even though they're mandated, you have to have money to pay for them. And it would cover the cost for the county administrator's office, the IT department, treasurer's office, electoral board, the general registrar's office, general district court, juvenile court services, clerk of the circuit court, animal control, community colleges, Lonesome Pine Regional Library, VPI extension agent, and the IDA, and the fire and rescue services. And I know you said some of these are mandated, but you still have to have money to pay for them. Cutting 8 aides will pay for the increase in the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, which is an increase of $63,619. So the school system cuts is helping pay for a lot of things, it looks like. And how can you justify employees paying an amount out of pocket that covers the budget for 16 departments? Now, you do not plan to lay anyone off of your employees, and they will not have to pay out of pocket for insurance, and that's good. I'm glad that's happening. But an increase in the school budget is necessary to keep things fair to all. And I'd ask that you don't put the burden on the backs of 311 school employees, and try to help us out. And I just thank you for your consideration. I thank you for your time. And Mr. Moore, I thank you for the help that you've given us on getting some facts and figures together. And this is a very good thing. It makes it very plain to see. Appreciate that. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ben.
One more thing I want to, $63,000 at the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Well, the unfunded mandate has a cost between salary and benefits of roughly about $87,000. One of our responses to that was we asked the current Commonwealth Attorney to downsize his office by one person.
And did you do that?
We did. We actually were able to we unfunded one position and actually created a little better position for the next person in line, but we were able to do a trade-off down of one of his office personnel. So he's down. Unfortunately, this is the one trade that doesn't work real well for us. We had to pick up a big attorney type salary and benefits, but we were able to rid ourselves financially of one of the secretarial funding positions. But he understood our position, and because we had shown him the lengths we had gone to try to fight that mandate, and he was appreciative and understood. So he did enable us to downsize his office.
And the unfunded mandate you speak of was passed by the General Assembly, mandating that the locality provide an attorney to watch body cam footage only.
Yes, every locality has to employ one dedicated attorney in their Commonwealth Attorney's Office, solely to the function of reviewing body camera footage for trial and case information.
And that's
despite the fact of all the data we pulled, and we have very little in the way of body camera footage, we provided all of that data to the state, and it was it was still a requirement because we tried based on our population, we tried based on our caseload, we tried based on our body camera footage, we tried based on all of the every argument we could think to come up with, and we were just denied a waiver from that position. So we were forced to fund it.
Floor is now open to anyone else.
Oh, I was going to mention something. We fought that on the body camera. We did not want no part of that. There's nothing we could do. I just wanted to emphasize that.
We absorbed. We didn't fund a position in that office. I mean, so to say that we've not cut anything, or
well, we tried.
Well, it's not really accurate though. That's not an accurate statement.
And we still will continue to try to fight that mandate.
The floor is now open for public comment. Still.
I think, isn't it true that VRS went up for everybody, in the teachers and Their contribution, everything went up, the ERS, is that true, Mr. Robinson?
Ms. Robinson, did your VRS go up? I am not certain.
Every,
I think
well,
it
every,
did.
every,
Everybody's.
every
did, I
entity
think.
is different because the school's rate is different from ours. Wise County's rate's different from ours. I will say that is the largest increase that we've seen since I've been
The
here.
ERS.
That it was over 2%. That's pretty substantial.
Well, like I say, I for one don't have the health insurance through the county, so I don't get to pay $100 a month. I pay more
To
like,
answer your question, I did not come prepared to make any comments.
okay, I'm
But I
sorry.
don't believe that, our VRS, came up, increased this year, as it usually does. I don't think we were one of the entities, but as the second largest employer, we've had other increases.
I just want to make sure that everyone knew I did not take the health insurance. I'm paying $700 a month for my husband and I for our health insurance.
Are we making calls? I forgot that. Can you give me that number?
I've had a lot of people say,
276
they can't get
333 0357.
I'm trying to
No,
call it.
you had asked me about that, Ms. Mullins, and I didn't get, but I'm glad you're here. The number 0357.
Yes.
So the number, if anyone's watching via our YouTube page and would like to call in with their public comment, the number is 276-333-0357. 276-333-0357. And I believe, Jeremy, you scrolled on the bottom of that too, don't you? Perfect.
I got a question. Miss Robinson.
Well, you don't have to, she's not prepared.
Oh, no, you don't have, oh, yeah, you don't have to.
Hey,
Yeah, I want to be fair to you. You're not.
Yeah, that's
If
fine.
you want to respond,
you
you
want to talk
can.
during
No,
public
if-
comment?
If the board has
No,
any
I want to
questions,
see
they
the
can certainly,
it's me.
Oh,
Mr. Phillips, I'm sorry,
I always see
Mr.
this
Phillips.
work.
So what's that?
Go ahead.
Mr. Phillips, I think this is a public hearing, and so the public is here to speak, is that correct?
Yeah, and I'm fine with that.
Mr.
That's
Phillips, if any of your board members would like to submit questions, we will be glad to respond to them and send them to the entire board.
And I was comfortable with that. I just seen questions started being asked.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I will be fair to everybody.
Yeah.
And that's,
Oh, I'm fine.
but if anybody has anything they want to say, the podium is now open. I'll leave it open a couple more minutes and, if nobody else calls. So that is rolling across the screen.
I just called and it worked.
I'll read it just one more
I've had people
time.
tell me it don't work.
276-333-0357.
It does work, so.
What do you think?
Down at your discretion, Mr. Chairman, to close the room.
I'll leave it in those minutes. Anybody wants to speak, I would allow them to speak. Any other remarks from our members? No calls? It's will of the board, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this public hearing.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm
Do
sorry.
we need to vote on
To
adjourn.
just come out of the public hearing.
Correct, okay, I'll entertain a motion to come out of the public hearing, right now we're recess, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to close out the public hearing.
You want to include the recess until June 23rd?
Yeah, and recess
I
for
have a
June
motion
20th.
to make.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
We need to come out of the closed
Public hearing
session.
first.
We're not
Yeah.
in closed session. All right, well, the floor is now open, we'll close public comment, so I do a hearing motions after the closure of public comment.
I will make that motion.
to
Motion.
come out. I'll second the motion to come out of the comment.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion while we're here tonight to amend our fiscal year 2021 budget to add an additional $200,000 to the school administration, and that we take it from our surplus funds that we have.
Mr. Phillips, I thought we came here for a public hearing.
You did, you held the public hearing. Now, the question is going to be whether or not you have in front of you the budget. The question is, from a parliamentary perspective, can the budget be amended tonight for further consideration at a later date? And in my opinion, yes.
Okay.
So we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second to that motion?
Why, Mr. Phillips, I have a different figure.
You can only entertain one motion at a time. If this motion fails,
Right, then I will make another motion.
Wait a second now. So there's no second, and so at that point, that's parliamentarian.
Yes, sir, please, go ahead.
If her motion failed, now there could be another motion at your.
So I do not have a second to my motion.
Well, I hadn't, you have a motion.
I have a motion.
Do I hear a
Do I
second?
not have a second?
Yes, ma'am, I was gonna call for it again. Do I hear a second to her motion? Last call, hearing none, the motion would fail. Are there any other
You have to go to the chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion.
Okay,
My motion is that we increase, I believe that I talked with someone and that they needed $87,000 in order to prevent the 30% raise in their insurance premiums. And my motion is to increase the budget increase it by $100,000 to the school system.
all right.
To take care of that, take care of the 30%. Hopefully, I can't tell them how to spend it, but I hope that will take care of the 30% increase in their insurance premiums.
All right, is there any, okay, I'll ask for a second now. Is there a second to Ms. Luss's motion? Hearing none, the motion would fail. I'll move on to item number 5. Do I hear any motions? Mr. Peters?
Item 5, I make a motion, we recess to June 23rd, 2020, our regular scheduled meeting.
Hear a second?
I'll second that.
Have a motion and second to end the public hearing and recess this meeting until June 23rd, 2020. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, as well. The meeting will be recessed until June 23rd, 2020.